You're welcome to the last edition for the week, Prime Flash on My Media Prime Television, with me, Audrey Zatsa. In a letter addressed to Prime Minister of Sports and Physical Education Minister Narcisse Mwele Kombi, FECAFOOT President Samuel Eto'o has called on the latter to respect the FECAFOOT status regarding the decision as to whether or not the Indomitable Lions coach Antonio Conceição will be maintained. Samuel Eto'o has reminded the sports minister that only the Cameroon Football Federation has a right to decide. The population of Boya is preparing to welcome athletes for the 27th edition of the televised annual foot race, the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, which will take place tomorrow, February 19, 2022. The Challenge of the Chariots of God, as the race is commonly referred to, takes place the first quarter of the year in Boya, chief town of the Southwest region. This year, at least 500 athletes are expected, according to Andrew Eteki Njo, president of the Southwest Regional League of Athletics. All is set ahead of Saturday's race. General Pierre Semenge has been appointed as president of the Transitional Council, with Jean-Pierre Akono as member of the Professional Football Transitional Council. The information is contained in a release signed by FECAFOOT President Samuel Eto'o. The head coach of the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon, Gabriel Zabo, has published a list of 25 players ahead of the team's qualifier against the Scorpions of Gambia for the Total Energies Africa Women Cup of Nations to take place in Morocco this 2022. The match will be hosted today at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium. Details with Eileen Sama.
The Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon are now ready for the third and final qualifying round for the Total Energies Women's African Cup of Nations AFCON, which will take place in Morocco this year. The Lionesses of Cameroon clash on the Scorpions of Gambia Friday, 18 February 2022 at Amadou Ahidjo Stadium in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Head coach Gabriel Zabo has published a list of 25 players who will defend the national colors at the encounter. It is worth highlighting that the coach's list features 3 goalkeepers, 7 defenders, 7 midfielders, and 8 attackers. However, some players who have defended the colors of the country in major international competitions will be absent. Nonetheless, the 25 women's squad has been training intensively at the Presidential Guard Stadium in Obili, Yaoundé for the past 3 weeks under the supervision of coach Gabriel Zabo, who says the team is ready for the challenge. Meanwhile, the head coach of the Gambian women's national team, Mariama Boumsowe, has named her final 23-woman squad to face the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon in the double-header African Women's Cup of Nations qualifier. Mariama Boumsowe and her team have also been training for past weeks, and she said focus was on the technical, physical, and mental aspect of the Scorpions. Nonetheless, the return leg is scheduled for Banjul, Gambia on February 23, 2022.
The population of the Adamawa region is still in shock after a man was consumed by the flames he ignited with the alleged intention of setting his entire family ablaze. This follows a heated conversation with his wife over the paternity of the children. Details with Fonquinta.
Tragedy struck Katsei Kamrai, a neighborhood in Gaoundéré, Adamawa region of Cameroon. A man reportedly lost his life after setting his house ablaze. According to reports, 45-year-old Kombo Bubu, father of 7, after a heated debate with his wife regarding the paternity of their 3-year-old child, set his house on fire with intentions of burning the child. The 3-year-old child managed to escape the white flames that rather burned his father to death. Neighbors who were left in shock alerted elements of the firefighters brigade in the town of Gaoundéré.
Le centre de secours des sapeurs-pompiers alerté à 7h10.
The population alerted us at about 7:30, and we got to the scene. We met a house in flames at Kamrai quarters. One of the houses was inhabited, and we began putting out the flames with the help of the population. After putting out the flames, we discovered one person dead. Unfortunately, he was the family head. Sources further revealed that the family had been embroiled in disputes for a while, often resulting to physical confrontations. Since Friday, he started creating disorder. We watched silently as he reacted. He slept without saying a word. Investigation has been opened by law enforcement officials to determine the reasons for his action. Meanwhile, the remains of Kombo Bubu has been laid to rest.
More than 1,000 cholera contamination cases have been recorded in six regions of the country within 1 month. Meanwhile, the coronavirus infection graph is gradually narrowing down as health experts continue to encourage the need for extra vigilance. Dolingonde.
Cameroon is currently battling with a pandemic and an epidemic. Going against popular expectations that the number of COVID-19 infected cases were going to rise shortly after the just-ended African Cup of Nations, the reverse is true, as reports from health experts lately have been insinuating a narrowing margin on the national COVID-19 graph chart, with so much emphasis still being laid for individuals to be ever more vigilant.
So 2 years after the first case of COVID-19 in our country, we have faced 4 waves of the epidemics. After the 4 waves, we are experiencing a decrease of the epidemic curves. And what shows that is the decrease in the number of cases notified every week, the number of deceased persons, but also the less cases that we register at the point of entry of the country. But we have to stay vigilant because we don't know what can happen after that the Cameroon has hosted the AFCON.
However, cholera is a resurfacing epidemic currently spreading like wildfire in the country. With 6 regions down, 1,242 contaminated cases plus 34 deaths, the stakes are high in terms of individual and collective hygiene and sanitation maintenance.
Get habit to eat while cooking food, wash correctly our hands, and we also have to keep our environment clean.
Going by the current statistics, the littoral region now records 77 cholera cases, the south 52, far north 8, while the southwest region is the most hit with about 1,055 contaminated cases. Plus, the population is advised to rush symptomatic cases as fast as possible to the nearest health unit once discovered.
Still on health, we talk about sepsis, which is a body's deadly response to infections that affect close to 50 million people worldwide. This week is commemorated as a World Sepsis Week to raise awareness regarding the disease. Our health reporter Bokengo Wadi tells us more.
Sepsis, also known as blood poisoning, is a life-threatening health condition that can be triggered by infections such as pneumonia, infected wound, urinary tract infections, which can spread throughout the body over time. One can get sepsis when bacteria born from the untreated infection spread or secretes toxic substances into the bloodstream, making the immune system to go into an overdrive, which can cause inflammation throughout the body. This chain of reaction interferes with the blood flow, leading to a drop in blood pressure as well as less oxygen to the body's major organs such as the lungs, kidneys, and heart. These can cause life-threatening health hazard over time and in some cases death within few hours. It should be borne in mind that sepsis, like any other life-threatening health condition, can be prevented through early diagnosis by means of watching out for some signs and symptoms such as fever, chills, breathing difficulties, vomiting, diarrhea, slurred speech, confusion, low blood pressure, elevated heart rate, and many more. Though sepsis can affect anyone, persons with a weakened immune system, long-term medical condition, skin damage such as cuts, blisters, and ulcers, as well as persons over the age of 50 are more vulnerable and susceptible.
And out of the country, the European Union and African leaders have launched a two-day summit in Brussels during the first joint summit since 2017 to 2020, having been cancelled due to coronavirus pandemic. Europeans aim to convince their African guests that they are their most reliable partner in the face of tough competition on the continent from China and Russia. So far, since day one yesterday, February 17, African leaders have instead expressed the desire for the European partners nations to allow the International Monetary Fund to provide tens of billions of dollars in continuing aid. On his arrival at the Brussels summit on Thursday, Senegalese President Macky Sall said there are still differences over the financing of fossil fuels, a sensitive issue as to how far the European Union can go in financing such projects. And the Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo has submitted a complete inventory of Congolese works of art and artifacts which potentially could be returned to the former African colony. The list was submitted Thursday during a visit by DRC's Prime Minister Jean-Michel Kienge. Speaking during his visit, Jean-Michel Kienge said he was not really going to take it as repairing wounds, but as a voluntary act of having relationships today that are not only improved, but very much calmed down in comparison with his expectations. The inventory is said to contain around 84,000 objects divided in categories. The Belgian Prime Minister, on his part, hailed the moment as a step forward in building a partnership of trust between Belgium and the Democratic Republic of Congo. That was it for today's edition of Prime Flash, produced by Junior Pelama. Thanks for watching. You have more news stories on 3:30 p.m. Prime Info with Gladys Motongina and 6:30 p.m. Prime News with Fon Quinter. Coming up next is In the House with Eileen Sama, and her ladies have a nice time and happy weekend.